Who are you and where did you come from?
Okay, I'm called Ghassam Mashla. I'm from Idlib in the north of Syria. I worked as a teacher for more than 20 years in Syria. My job was very interesting. I loved my job, but Al-Assad regime stopped me to be a teacher when he arrested me, when he dismissed me of work. He said no work, and when his aircrafts began to attack my city, Al-Assad regime destroyed our life. Everything I hoped for, everything I hoped for my children, for my grandchildren, for my people of Syria, everything was destroyed by Al-Assad regime.
How was the situation in Syria before the revolution and how is the situation now?
Okay. Syria has suffered for a long time since the beginning of the 70s of the previous century because of Al-Assad regime. Al-Assad regime has put his rules in Syria that were definitely military rules against the people. They controlled everything in Syria, especially the sources, I mean petrol. They control gas, they control everything. And everything was for the family of Assad, for the benefit of the family of Assad. People at that time have no right to speak. When they tried to speak, they were conquered and they were jailed in a bad way. Many people, we remember during the 1980s in Hama and some cities of Syria like Idlib and Aleppo, people at that time were killed and imprisoned for saying we need freedom, we need our rights, we need to live like human people live in the world. When the people of Syria in 1911, when they began their revolution, they wanted a better life. Then the answer of the regime was killing more and more of Syrians. Then they turned to say, no, we don't want Al-Assad regime because Al-Assad regime is killing us. For this reason, they started their revolution. But the regime has made use of this situation by using terrorism with the help of Iran and Russia, and they turned the revolution of Syria into a civil war. This is the situation that we have now in Syria.
Well, how was it to live in Syria before the revolution and after it? How was the life there?
Okay. Before the revolution, the Syrian man finds difficulty to live as a human being. He needs to work a long period during the time in order to earn living. Sometimes a Syrian man can work for 16 hours or for 18 hours in order to live in a good way. In addition to this, the Syrian man had no dignity, no right to say his opinion, no right to choose. Even when he studies, he doesn't get his job that he requires. Then Al-Assad family gets everything for the benefit of their family, their friends, and they gave nothing at that time to people. They ask people just to answer their requests, just to work, and no rights at all. That was the bad situation that the Syrian people lived before the revolution. For this reason, we had the revolution.
At this demonstration, you said USA, Russia, and Assad worked together in Syria. Why do you think they worked together?
Okay, because through 50 years ago, through 50 years of living in Syria, we noticed as Syrian people that Al-Assad regime claimed that he is defending Syria against Israel. He is against USA. But what we have discovered that Al-Assad regime, Israel and USA, they are working together against the Syrian people, against the benefits of Syrian people, against the rights of Syrian people, to keep the situation as it is. And when the Syrian people want to get a better life or to have advanced way of life, any man who wants to do this, he was imprisoned and perhaps killed.
In our media, it's often said that in Aleppo are lots of terrorists.
Yeah.
Where do they come from, and how do you see the role of the terrorists and what they did?
Okay. Many terrorists that are working in Syria against humanity, against the Syrian people, most of them were in Assad prison. And when the Syrian revolution started, it was peaceful revolution. Then we were surprised at that time that Al-Assad regime released all these terrorists. Why? In order to form gangs and fight against the Syrian people, to destroy the Syrian revolution. Not only this, he worked together, he cooperated with Iran to bring terrorists of all the world to Syria in order to fight in the name of Islam and in the name of the Syrian people. But in fact, they don't represent Syrian people, and Syrian people are killed every day by these terrorists.
So you say that the terrorists worked also together with Assad because Assad has released them.
Yeah, they were in prison. We know that many terrorists were in prison of Al-Assad regime, and we were surprised that he released them at that time. Why? This is the question that everyone should understand.
You say that Assad was terrorists in the revolution.
Yeah.
So that it destroyed it. Where did the information come from, or where did you see it?
I lived in Idlib in Syria for some years during the revolution, and we noticed that many tourists disguised as other men in the Syrian revolution, they claim that they were against Assad, but when Al-Assad needed them, they were against the Syrian revolution.
Thanks you for the interview.
Thank you very much and welcome.